very good morning to our teaming audience out there on BCOS television. And I guess it's still in order to say congratulations on the onset of a new year. This edition of our monthly flagship program, Guest of the Month, being the very first edition in the year 2026, the January edition. And in case you are joining us for the program for the very first time, Guest of the Month, like I said, our monthly flagship program, where we engage leaders of thought, eminent citizens of this country, across various sectors of endeavor, and we share their thoughts on various issues affecting their country, our nation, and our world. That, in a nutshell, is what we do on Guest of the Month. It's a monthly program, as the name of the program suggests. So today, another grand edition of the program, like I said, the very first in the year 2026. My name is Tola Teriba, your anchor on the program, and I also have my co-anchor who will be engaging our guest along with me this morning, Bola Aboduni.
Yes, it's my pleasure to be with you, Tola, on this set today, and we thank God Almighty for making it happen. Like you rightly said, this is the very first edition of the program in this brand new year. We can only wish you all the best as we all journey through the year. You're most welcome, and I want to appreciate, of course, our guests for making time out to be with us on the program today. You're most welcome.
All right, we have another eminent Nigerian on the program this morning, one of Nigeria's leading intellectuals. He is a senior management expert with experience spanning 25 years in the public and private sector. In Europe and Nigeria, he is a lawyer, he's an historian, and he also has a degree in international relations and strategic studies. Well, quite an intimidating CV, you say. But I won't let the cat out of the bag just yet. We will be going to our studios and to give you more snippets about who our guest is this morning on the program, Guest of the Month.
Dr. Sheye Oyeleye is a strategic management expert who has worked in senior management positions both in the public and private sector in Nigeria and Europe for over 25 years. He has served in various capacities in United Kingdom civil service and local government, ranging from the Ministry of Agriculture to the Department of Work and Pensions and the London Borough of Hammersmith and Fulham and London Borough of Hackney. Sheye has served in senior managerial capacities at Omatech Group, Blue Hall Management Consultants and Leadership Academy, and the T.Y. Danjuma Foundation as the Group Head, Human Resource and Corporate Strategy. He is currently the Director General of the Development Agenda for Western Nigeria, Dawn Commission, the organization set up by the 6 states in southwest Nigeria to manage their regional development cooperation. As a management strategist, he has over the years developed strategies as a driver of organizational progress, guidance, and using strategy to develop customer-led competitive advantage. Is also involved in driving regional development strategy for the southwest states in Nigeria as it drives to compete in the emerging markets and the ever-changing financial development space. Cobbling together alliances and joint ventures in emerging markets, he has been at the forefront of structuring and putting together sustainable partnerships, which has been of immense benefit to the 50 million strong population of the southwest part of Nigeria, working across the 6 states that make up the region. Sheye attended Loyola College, Ibadan for his secondary education. He proceeded to obtain his first degree in history at the Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, a master's degree in European International Relations and Strategic Studies from the University of North London, now London Metropolitan University, a postgraduate diploma in Human Capital Management, also from London Metropolitan University, an LLB law degree from the University of East London, and an honorary doctorate degree in public administration from Paul's University in Delaware, USA. He has also attended various courses in strategic management, human capital management, and development studies both in UK and Nigeria. He attended a 10-week course on creating public value at the Harvard Kennedy School of Government 2020 class.
So that's a brief profile of our guest on Guest of the Month this morning for the January edition. And as you might have heard, he is currently the Director General of Dawn Commission, an organization, an initiative of the Southwest states to manage regional cooperation and development in Southwest Nigeria, an organization that is all about promoting the interest of Southwest Nigeria along the lines of social and economic development. It's good to see you, Dr. Ile.
Good morning. It's my pleasure, and Happy New Year to all your viewers. Good morning.
All right, we go straight to business, and I want to start, Dr. Ile, along the lines of the Dawn Commission, which you presently superintend as the Director General of that organization. Now, what problem or major challenge was the Dawn Commission created to solve way back in 2013?
Thank you. We, as you rightly said, were set up in 2013 by the governors of the Southwest states. But prior to 2013, I like to give a brief history of how we got to 2013. Around 2011, 2010, a group of intellectuals, businessmen, some politicians and academia came together under the auspices of the Afenifere Renewal Group, and they were organizing programs, symposiums, and over a 2-year period, they came up with a document called the Western Nigeria Strategy Roadmap. Why did they come up with that document? The idea is that, look, we were once a single region, Old Western region. Of course, we had been divided into 6 states, and we realized that we were working in silos, trying to achieve the same thing. So the idea of the document was, look, let's even have a single roadmap that will entrench and empower the 6 states to speak with one voice. And the idea is that when they speak with one voice, when they share ideas, when they collaborate, it will fast-track development. So they came up with that document. It was that document in late 2012 that they took around the then 6 governors of the Southwest states. And thankfully, they adopted it, the governors, because they saw the need that, look, we need to interact more. Yes, there were 6 states that spoke the same language, speak the same language, have the same culture, but they were still very far apart because there was no longer any means of interacting. Or your state was doing its own thing, or Shun doing his own thing. So in that document, they saw the idea that, okay, this can even bring us together. So in 2012, they adopted the document, and at the City Hall, they all said, look, we are going to follow this document, and we will set up a body that will ensure that this document works. We'll set up a body that will ensure that we interact together. So at the City Hall in Lagos, they proclaimed the establishment of what we now know as Dawn Commission. And that was in 2012. And in 2013, we took off in Cocoa House. So that's just the genesis. So I tell people that Dawn Commission itself is a creation of the governments, of the governors. And we are very grateful that they don't wear their political hats when it comes to Dawn. So over the last 12, 13 years, they funded it, they've supported the work. But the idea itself came from the people, and it was given to the governors, and that is why one can say it has endured this long.
Okay, the Dawn Commission, you mentioned the governors, that a creation of the governors, and they do not wear their political hats.
Yeah.
Now, for me, it's interesting that you have been able to stay out of politics, talking about the Dawn Commission now, and despite the fact that at various intervals, we do have different political parties running the affairs of the respective Southwest states. How have you been able to manage this? I mean, staying out of politics.
You see, the development itself is politics. If you look at it critically, there's no way you can have development without politics. But the way we have positioned ourselves in the Southwest is that, look, you see, even if you look at the history of the Yorubas itself, and Yorubas are predominant in Southwest, we don't have a history of all putting our heads in the same place. One of the things that has made us a viral region is that we encourage divergent views. But from that divergence, we come up with the common good for the people. So at Dawn Commission, what we have been able to do over the years is that we've been able to accommodate the divergent views of all our principals, which are the governors. So whether you are in PDP or APC or any other party, to us, once it comes to matters of regional development, we let them see the common good. That so yes, once in a while we encounter some aides that might want to bring in political coloration, but we have been able to stay above the fray by saying that, look, whatever advice, whatever we come up with, is because we have an helicopter view of the region, and what we do is, when we share position papers with our governors, with our commissioners, with heads of services, they understand that we are coming from a point of development and nothing political. And that has helped. And that is even why we have also enjoyed the benefit of partnerships with international organizations, because we have then become the go-to place in the region when they want to come and engage with the Southwest. They come to Dawn because they understand that we don't do politics, and we were created not to do politics, but to focus on development. And that is what we've been able to do over the years. And as you rightly said, no matter the governor that comes in, they see us as, in quotes now, an independent think tank, policy organization for the region.
Coming from the point of view of development, regional integration, and which Dawn Commission is all about, does this also have anything to do with the Yoruba, the agitation for ethnic self-determination? Do you have anything to do with groups agitating for this, either now or in the near future?
Well, as I said, our idea, the idea of Dawn itself, is for regional development. It has no political coloration, no ethnic coloration. Once you live in Southwest, whether you are Igbo, Efik, Ibibio, or Afang, once you live in this region, we believe that you need to enjoy better life. You need to make progress. And we say that our idea is to make this place the place to live, to invest, and to work. So in our operations, we project the growth of Southwest without being ethnic. If we are brothers whose cause are championing self-determination, Yoruba Nation, that's a distinct arm from what we do. We are purely focused on developmental things. It does not mean that we don't push the interest of this region. Now, at times, people might say that some of the things we are pushing is for the interest of the Yoruba. We're not going to shy away from that. And why is that? 90% of those who live in this region are Yorubas, if you get my point. So some of the things we do, some might want to read ethnic coloration. It has no ethnic coloration. Ours is to pursue those developmental goals that will make life more abundant for all those who live in this. So as I said, when we decide to say that we want to ensure that this region is secure, the security, and Aliko Dangote, who has a huge refinery in Lagos, will benefit from it. We are not going to say, oh, he is Hausa, so he shouldn't benefit from what we are crafting as development programs. If we are saying that we want to ensure quality education, if you live in this region, whether you are Igbo from Nkalagu, it does not stop you from enjoying the ideas that we've crafted. So you understand that our idea is not separatist, but that does not mean we don't understand, and we cannot disown our brothers who believe that that is the path that they should go.
So you believe all this is possible within the current entity called Nigeria as constituted? You believe all this can be achieved without the separatist cause?
My opinion is that we don't have to separate to achieve some of the things we are pushing. And I'll tell you why. We only need to go back to the federal structure, or the structure that even the colonialists understood when they were living in 1960. You see, part of the challenges we have faced over time is the fact that when we went into military rule from 1966, we tried to equate unity with so the military will say, oh, unity, we are one, without understanding that there are individual peculiarities. The fact that we call ourselves a federal republic quickly tells us that we are different people that have agreed to come to federate under a country called Nigeria. But unfortunately, when the military came in, they brought their one-size-fits-all. So their own idea of progress or unity is that whatever they are pushing in Maiduguri must be the same thing the man in Ibodi, in Elisha, or the man in Ekpe, or even the man in Okigwe must do, forgetting that we are different people. And that is what has slowed down our development, because Nigeria probably is the only country that calls itself federal, but to a large extent, not until recently, we were running what I could call a quasi-unitary government, whereby everything is concentrated at the center. And that does not work. Okay, I'll give you an example, and I like using examples a lot so that you don't think what I'm saying is esoteric. Look at our policing structure. We have a single police force. So we have an IG who sits in Abuja. The IG wants to be the one that controls the security. So from Abuja, he wants to determine what happens in Isaliosi here in Ibadan. He wants to determine what happens in Ogun State. He wants to determine what happens in Niger State. And over time, it became too big. So you have a population of 200 plus million, then you have a single police force. So the challenges of security we are facing, which thankfully now is now being addressed by this present government, that, look, we need we need to decentralize police. It's because we refused over time to understand the individual peculiarities that constitutes a federal country. Even in countries that are very educated, I'll give you Switzerland as an example. It's a federal country. They have their cantons, that's what they call it. And they are more like semi-independent. When Nigeria was making progress in the past, it was when we had effective regions that could stand on their own, that could feed themselves. You understand? But unfortunately, the challenges, so when people now start saying, we need to separate, we want to go away, it is the frustration with the existing system that has led them down that route. If this system we're operating is working, I can assure you, we are stronger together than apart. That's my own opinion. Yeah.
Achieving the very best of the southwestern region and might not be easy because nothing good they say come easy. So how has the journey been from then to now?
Since we started in 2013, some even outside they think, it should be easy. You are managing 6 states that have the same culture, same language. But it then goes back to what I said about our federal structure. Yes, we are 6 southwest states, but we have to understand the individual peculiarities of these states. You'll be surprised that it is not everything that happens in Osun that is immediately applicable to Ogun. What we have done and why we've been able to achieve our successes at Dawn Commission is that, yes, we try to integrate, we try to cooperate, but we also emphasize the individual peculiarities of the states. So at times we push a common policy or plan to the states, but what we do is that we then understand that the rate of implementation might be different because the idea of what goes on in Iwo might be totally different for what happens in Ekiti. We tend to take all that into consideration. So once you do that, you'll be able to manage conflicts because make no mistake, yes, we are done, we are 6 states. Anytime we bring the 6 states together, ideas are different. The path they want to go to that same place is different. Ours is to ensure that, okay, we all know that we're going to that place. We understand that this is the path we want to follow. If we think that your path is very good and it can easily be adopted, we then even try to encourage all the states to go there. And if we think that 6 approaches will still work as long as we get there, we say, okay, let's go ahead. That does not mean that we are not working together. So that is how we've been able to manage the 6 states over time. And more importantly, the cooperation of our principals is very crucial. No matter what we do, if a governor says, I'm not interested, I don't want to do, there's nothing you can do. You can't force them. You can shout till the cows come home. But thankfully, we also have governors who understand that the interest of South, and you see, if you go back to our past, when we had the old Western region, because some will say, oh, why do you keep referring to the old times? And I say that if you don't know where you're coming from, you won't even know where you are, talk less of knowing where you're going. So what we do is that when you look at what happened in the old Western region, the old Western region used to be 8 states. People tend to forget that before they even separated the Midwest. So from Ibadan here, the premier, late Obafemi Awolowo and later S.L. Akintola, they governed present-day 8 states effectively. Now, look at the progress we made when we were working together as a single region. A lot of the firsts, now Oyo State adopted it as pace-setter state. We used to be the pace-setter region. This was the region that gave us Cocoa House, a region that gave us the first TV station, a region that gave us the best civil service in Africa in those days. How did they achieve that? They achieved that by working together, by serving a common good. As I said, when the military came, divided us into 6 states, fine. That's not a problem. How can we then again recreate the past? And one should not be ashamed of referring to his or her past, as long as it's a good past. Some people don't have history. We are grateful that we have history. We still go to the archives. And some of the things we do today are done. When we put it together and we go and read what they did in the 50s and 60s, you're thinking, well, we're not doing anything new in the real sense. We're just modifying things that they did in the past. So, in essence, all I'm just trying to say is that challenges are there. Yes, we are 6 states. And, of course, someone once said that, oh, if you want to really integrate, all the states should be scrapped. And I said, really? Would you allow your own state to be scrapped? Better just stop joking. But on a more serious note, what we've been able to do is understand the peculiarities of every state and make sure that we harness it for us to work stronger. And I want to emphasize again, the cooperation of the 6 governors has been absolutely essential in getting us to this level.
Okay, now, you seem to be an advocate of restructuring from all you have said so far. The kind of restructuring that will not see the disintegration of Nigeria. But I'm also glad that you mentioned that what is currently happening in Iwo could be miles apart from what is happening in Ekiti. And, well, you refer repeatedly to the good old days of the regions. But now, how can we have a realistic and sustainable national discourse on restructuring and even resource control, where issues of intra-ethnic suspicions and distrust have been more awakened more than ever before? I'll give you an instance. The matter of state creation, for instance, here in the Southwest, the Ibadan state perchance becomes a reality. I've heard people say that the new Oyo state, that there will be very hot bickering over where the capital is supposed to be located. Go to Igbo land. There are some people, some Igbos that will say a certain category of the Igbos are not authentic Igbos. So how do we deal with all these? These things were non-existent. We saw ourselves as one in those times that you mentioned.
Thank you. You've raised a germane question about the way we are today and how can we still proceed with a restructured Nigeria. I'll start from here. When we had the old regions, we had the Western region, the Midwest, Eastern region, and then the Northern region. Of course, because we had not been divided into different states then, it wasn't that people were not conscious of who they were. In the old Western region, and again, we're not going to run away from that, there are people who felt that, oh, development didn't get to them in the old Western region. I'm not going to be mentioning areas. Some felt, oh, they were marginalized. So when states were created, they saw it as the silver bullet that will solve all their problems. But unfortunately, when the states were created, they quickly realized that it isn't the silver bullet that will solve problems. If we want to, before I come back again, if we want to use an international example, Sudan used to be one big country, huge country. And of course, they went to civil war. The southern part felt they wanted their own country. Once they have southern Sudan, everything would be over and all their problems will be solved. And I can tell you today that the biggest intra-ethnic conflicts is actually in southern Sudan. Now, where am I going? You see, I know that there's a clamor that we need to create states, we need to do this. I'm of the school of thought that the moment we restructure properly, and we might not call it regions, I don't know what you want to call it. So, but for want of a better example or word, let's call it regions. It should be the duty of the regions to create states and not the federal. So, if Western region is created tomorrow and they feel that they can operate effectively with 30 states in Western region, so be it. So if they want to be a Bashoron state or an Iworo state and they can afford it, so be it. You see, and you know, this might sound controversial. I've tried to listen to arguments now for new states. And for me, it's a head scratcher. Head scratcher in the sense that you're thinking, we have 36 states at the moment. If you remove oil or FAC revenue, even it might not be oil alone, and there's no FAC revenue tomorrow, how many of the 36 states can survive? Oh, and we need to be realistic. How many of the 36 states can stand on their feet? So when I read the paper, oh, we are clamoring for Ijebu State, we are clamoring for Egbado State or Ibadan States, I don't have a problem. But my challenge is, how do you fund the extra bureaucracy that you want to create? I gave you an example that during the Awolowo Akintola times, 8 states were under a single region and they govern themselves efficiently. If we think that until we keep breaking ourselves into tiny pieces, that's where we can develop, I'm sorry, we have a long way to go, a very long way to go. So, yes, a thorough advocate of restructuring, a thorough advocate of federalism. My own idea is that if you want to create states, let it be like local governments. Let it be the prerogative of that big region. So you can now decide that in my own region we can afford. Don't forget that the moment we have regions, hopefully, we will also be less dependent on collecting money from Abuja. As long as we are operating what I call feeding bottle federalism. I'm sorry, and advocates of state creation might not like this. I'm struggling to see the government under the present economic circumstances that will create extra states. And as I said again, it is not creation of states itself. It is that engenders development. There are a lot of things that brings development without having to go state creation route.
Feeding bottle federalism and what you have said about the need perhaps for us to go back to restructuring. And I want to ask, don't you think the non-viability of many of the states, don't you think this is due to a factor of leadership, and that nothing would change if we indeed follow your own templates, which you are recommending regarding the ideal structure of the states?
Leadership. I actually don't think it's leadership, and I'll tell you why. Look, it's let me use a football analogy. If you have rubbish players who are not good, if you can go and get a Pep Guardiola or Jose Mourinho to be their coach, they will not win anything. So, bringing it back to what we do here, you can talk about leadership. But the thing is, under what environment are those leaders operating? You can have all the best ideas in the world, but if your environment stifles your creativity, it's going to be a challenge. I will say one or two things now as an example. Recently, we started operating the new tax laws, leading to the signing and then the promulgation of the laws. The opposition was mega. We didn't want to pay taxes. We don't want to do this. It got to a stage. We started wearing the garb, as in GRB, of ethnic coloration. We have our brothers from other parts of the country who are putting out position papers opposing the tax reforms. And you are asking yourself that if you genuinely desire a country to grow, if you genuinely desire a country to move away from being totally oil dependent, part of the things you need to fund your country is taxation. At the moment, of course, if you are in paid employment in Nigeria, you can't avoid taxes. But we've operated a system whereby someone who is selling building materials in the world, whose turnover is 1 billion a year, would easily go to secretariat at the end of the year and declare that I'm a petty trader, and he pays 10,000 naira to collect tax clearance certificates. No country grows on that. So when we have this administration that came in and said, you know what, we need to reform taxes, there was opposition. Oh, we don't want it. It shouldn't happen. All because we see everything with a political prism. We don't understand that if we have to develop, if we have to have the country that we desire, we then have to start making structural changes. I listened to some of the experts when they were trying to talk about these tax reforms. They said that some of the laws we were practicing in tax, some of the things we have been doing, has been in existence since 1939. And you're thinking, if we're still operating 1939 tax laws, how do we then expect us to grow as a country? You see, at the moment, yes, we might have here and there, we might be saying that we need more leaders, better leaders. But my own argument is that we need to ensure that the structure that they're operating within, the parameters, is conducive enough for that good leader to emerge and to shine. If we don't do that, you can have your best 11 as governors and presidents. The structure will keep stifling them. And you might be saying, what is structure? What is structure? I just mentioned taxation as an example. It's part of the structure that we've been afraid to change. I listened to former Minister Kemi Adeosun, former Minister of Finance. I listened to her about a month ago. She was talking about subsidy, the oil subsidy on TV. And she said that when she was the finance minister, that everybody in the EXCO chamber then could see clearly that the subsidy was not sustainable. But nobody was bold enough to change. Nobody was bold enough to touch it. Now, when a government came and said, we want to make that reforms, of course, it was demonized. We can't do it. As long as we have leaders who are too careful, I won't say afraid, of what the people will say, we won't get to where we should go to. And I always say this, a great leader or a good leader should take you where you ought to be, not where you want to be. Because where you want to be is going to be the comfortable place. The comfortable place might not allow you to grow. So, you see, again, sir, I do it, because of my job, I do a lot of readings. And we compare ourselves with some of these great countries. Canada, America. Oh, in Canada, this has worked. In Rwanda, this has worked. The other day, I was chatting with my sister. She told me that in 2025, in total, she paid 43% as taxes. Which means if you bring it to Naira, for every 100 Naira, she was paying 43 Naira as taxes. You might then argue that, oh, well, but she can see what she's paying for. It then becomes a chicken and egg situation. Which comes first? If you pay your taxes, you can hold your government accountable. If I'm a leader, a political leader, I'm in government here, I might say, well, you can't hold me accountable. You're not paying taxes. What we are spending is our oil revenue, which belongs to everybody, so don't complain.
But the government also does what it should. It can hold me accountable.
Yes, as simple, I agree. So, but again, it's chicken and egg, which comes first. But now that more people are now being dragged into that tax net, I believe that the government too should be careful. Because the more you now demand from them, people will say, hang on, I paid. What are you doing with my money? So all I'm just saying is that we shouldn't just keep saying leadership. Oh, it's because of bad leadership. I'm not exonerating leaders. All I'm saying is that the structure we are operating is so stifling that unless you have people who are ready to face it, people who will not be thinking of the next election. Before I stop on that topic, again, because I said I like giving examples. I remember I went for a program in Lagos, one education program. It was during the first term of the former governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, when he was trying to reform the education system in Kaduna. He said, the advisors or whatever, the consultants came around and said, look, you have about 75% untrained teachers. You need to chase all of them away and bring in new teachers if you want the education level to go up. Of course, he said he told this party, and listen to this, that I'm going to sack teachers. 75% of, they said you can't do it. We will lose election. You will do this. They told him, no, don't touch that. Anyway, he went back to his bedroom. He said he slept over it and said, which one is more important? My re-election or the future of Kaduna children? He woke up in the morning, the decision was very easy. I will send away teachers. The future of Kaduna children is more important than my re-election. That is taking hard, difficult decisions. You get my point? So what Nigeria needs is, first of all, carry on that journey of taking hard decisions. We have mollycoddled ourselves for too long, all because there's, in quotes, free money. But the era of free money is long gone. And as long as we don't have free money anymore, we need to ensure that we hold our leaders accountable. And how do we hold them accountable? Once we do the right thing as citizens, we can hold them accountable and ensure that we elect leaders who will be accountable to us.
Okay, so it's not about leadership alone, it's about the structure, like you rightly said. Now, if you're going to have a very good, viral, sound structure, what are the steps we need to take?
For Nigeria, as I said, I think the first thing we need to do is and whatever word you want to call it, we need to decentralize or restructure this country. That has become the irreducible minimum for us as a country, or for want of a better word again, a no-brainer. Because, as I said, what we've been practicing for too long is this quasi-unitary system that we've called federal. So, recently, and as I said, I like giving examples. Recently, next door to you here, the state government wanted to take over a particular land. Of course, there was an uproar. Those that were on the land said, oh, we got this land from a federal agency. And the state government is saying, number one, the federal agency does not own the land. Number two, when they requested this land from us over 45, 50 years ago, it was for a specific purpose. The moment you finish with that purpose, you hand over the land back to the state. But of course, we run a federal system that is still quasi-unitary. So the federal side said, oh no, it's our land. The state is saying, no, it's my land. That shouldn't be happening in a federal structure. Again, I can tell you this. Anytime we talk about bad roads, and a governor will come and say, well, I want to do the road, but it's a federal road. And I ask myself, the last time I checked, I'm not sure I saw federal people. All I saw are human beings. There's no federal person. So if the road from Ikere-Ekiti to Ilawe is very bad. There's nothing stopping the governor of Ekiti to invest his own money and do it properly, as opposed to say, oh, well, because of the federal structure we are operating, the bulk of the money stays at the federal level. I can't do it. It's a federal road. So you are now telling your people, I'm sorry, this is the reason I'm not doing it. It's federal. You see, there's so many things that the military left for us that unconsciously we carried into our 1999 constitution. Unconsciously. And that has affected our own democracy now. And thankfully, we've had 26 years of 27 this year, of unbroken democracy. But the issue is, are we actually still practicing a democracy, or do we have a federal structure that encourages development? I would say no, it doesn't. So for years, not until recently, for years, states wanted to do their own electricity. As early as 1999, there was a governor then who wanted to bring independent power to his own state. And the federal government then said, no, you can't touch it. It is our own. We can't develop that way. You see, as long as we have roadblocks, and there are several roadblocks along the way, and those are the things that need to be removed. When we remove those roadblocks, so when I gave examples of electricity, rail, roads, once you start having those things back to the states, and this is where regional cooperation now comes in, back to the states, contiguous states can then start coming together and say, you know what, we want to have a Southwestern Power Authority that will solely be distributing power to the Southwest, or a Southwest Railway body that will ensure that we interconnect ourselves with rail. We will no longer be waiting on the federal. But how would that then happen? The revenue allocation formula will then have to change drastically. At the moment, 52% or so stays in Abuja. Now, when you have that in Abuja, so it means that 52% of agriculture money as well stays in Abuja. But do you know the irony? Federal government has no land. They don't have land under the Constitution. So why should they be appropriating 50% of money for agriculture? Why should we be having a federal ministry of housing? It shouldn't be. It should be a state thing. So when we have all these things being removed and devolved back to the regions, that is the restructuring. I call it economic restructuring, which will then also give back to... Don't be afraid of political restructuring as well, if you get my point. So regions can have their own Supreme Court before they then go to the federal one. Okay. Which means that even the justice will be faster. If you get my point. At the moment, if you are fighting for land, you might go 25 years and you're still not gotten a resolution. All I'm trying to say in essence is that development is desirable. We want it. But we must be ready to follow the path. For Nigeria today, there are still so many roadblocks that needs to be removed. And when we have our brothers or those who are maybe skeptical or afraid that if we restructure, they will lose that, there's no one that will lose out. Everybody must be carried along to understand that when we made the biggest progress as a people was when we were operating semi-independently.
Okay, talking about what things could be in the near future if we indeed restructure, regarding infrastructure and development across the regions. Now, I want to take us a little more, we'll still come back to that, but I want to take us a little back into history. January 1966, the first military coup, and it's been 60 years on. Now, first I want to ask, the protagonist of that coup, the five majors, were they nationalists, or do we call them ethnic bigots? Some have said it was an Igbo coup, but I read them a book written by one of the protagonists, Major Ademoyega, and I was tempted to think that maybe they indeed had nationalist intentions, maybe carried out the wrong way. What do you think?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, January 15th this year, 60 years since we had that first military intervention.
Major Ademoyega's book was titled Why We Struck.
Why We Struck. I read the book a few years ago as well. I will answer the question this way. I will not go. You see, nowadays we talk about optics. Optics says a lot and means a lot, and even at times optics is everything. For those who are who have seen that 1966 coup from an ethnic position, maybe they had looked at the optics and said, was it a coincidence that largely those who lost their lives came from particular parts of the country, and largely a particular part of the country, in quotes, escaped being killed? That might have led them to the idea that, maybe it's an ethnic coup.
And that was what actually happened.
Well, meanwhile, of course, to corroborate that, 6 or 7 months later, another group came from a different part of the country in July, saying that they wanted to avenge what happened to them. But you see, you then ask the second part of the question, that were they revolutionaries or were they ethnic bigots? Revolutionaries, no. It's as simple as that. It might sound a bit uncharitable to them, but I just think that they were overzealous. That's the word. A lot of them, if you look at their ages in those days, a lot of them were in their late 20s, early 30s, and they felt that, the way things were going on in this country, then they can come and change. I'm not sure they did their homework very well. I'm not sure they understood the peculiarities of a country that had different languages, different people. And history, if you now go back and look at our history, you easily tell yourself that maybe, just maybe, if we had not had that military intervention in 1966, it most probably would have been a different Nigeria. And I will give examples. It's as simple as that. Using Western region as a perfect example. Development here was going at a jet speed in the old Western region before. So even when we had crisis in Western region, the Obafemi Awolowo or Akintola crisis, it did not stop development. So when Chief S.L. Akintola replaced Chief Obafemi Awolowo as premier, he continued with the laid down plans, the 50-year plans that they had. So you find out that a cocoa house was completed under Chief Akintola. You find out that the Cocoa Research Institute happened these were under Akintola. These were plans. Premier Hotel was continued under Akintola. These were laid down plans, meaning that the political players then understood development and they were following laid down plans. In the north where today we have the challenges of the Majiri, people not wanting to go to school as well. Under the premiership of Sir Ahmadu Bello, parents were being jailed if they refused to send their children to school. Meaning that as early as the late 50s, early 60s, Sir Ahmadu Bello understood the power of education. That's what brought development, even to the north. But unfortunately, when the military came in, with the young men, I said that tried to shoot themselves. Of course, they didn't succeed. Other people took over, and then we then start having successive military regimes. Their own training was then brought into governance. So the first thing General Aguiyi-Ironsi did was to have come up with what he called Decree 34, whereby everything was now centralized. Because he was trained in Sandust, where it's a command and you obey. So for him, for us to work, it has to be one person dishing out orders. That, in my opinion, set Nigeria back. Because when we were working prior to 1966, regions were growing at their own pace. The eastern region was growing, western Nigeria, Midwest was doing their own. They were even copying each other to grow. And because they were a bit big, They had the financial muscle to do things.
Dr. Ile, the
Yeah.
soldiers have been gone for more than 26 years
Yes.
now. And we are still blaming them for the wars.
No, you see, I'm not blaming. I'm not blaming soldiers. But you see, you cannot be. You cannot run away from the root cause of our challenges, which has been firmly ingrained into our psyche. Firmly ingrained. So, today, in America, although they have a bit of an aberration there now, but in America, the governor of California, in fact, I think he was in Davos yesterday. He was in Davos yesterday speaking. His own ideas, what he was saying was totally opposite of what President Trump is going to be saying today. In fact, he was telling the international community that please don't listen to this man called my president. The path is following is dangerous. That is federalism at work. In our own Nigeria, if you tell the average man on the streets that the president is calling the governor to see him, if the governor says, I don't have time, I don't want to go, the people in the state will say, your boss is calling you and you're saying you're not going. The president is not the boss of the governor in the federal structure. If you get my point. But for us, the people will believe, he's the Oga, he's calling the Omoshe. It doesn't work that way. That psyche has been ingrained into every aspect of our lives.
We have governors that have stood up to the president.
Yes, that is what.
Ayodele Fayose is an example.
That is what, and what of course we saw then.
Okay,
the consequences. The consequences of him standing up. It is because we keep believing that command and control structure. Our idea is that, one size, there must be a commander at the top. So that it is the advent of military into our political space that has now basically formed the way we've been operating. It will take a generation. Now you might say 25 years is enough. But I even want to now play a devil's advocate and say, well, out of the 26 years that we've had democracy, even the first 8 years, or not even 8 years, after the 26 years of democracy now, 16 of those years have been led by presidents who are military.
I'm glad you mentioned
the military. Obasanjo, 8 years. Muhammadu Buhari, 8 years. So even 16 out of the 26 have been led by people whose psyche has been purely military. That is still what is holding us down. So nobody is blaming military. We are saying that we now need to move to a situation where our mindset has to change for us to fast-track development.
I'm glad you mentioned the golden era of the First Republic, especially between 1952 and 1966, an era when the Western region was seen as the most successful sub-national government. Now, I want to ask, what has gone missing in today's political elite? If we talk about those men and women of exceptional character who were political leaders in those days.
What has gone missing or what has gone wrong?
What has gone wrong?
Increasingly, our values have changed. Our values have changed as a people. Change for the better, I'm not so sure. You see, in those days, if you did the wrong thing, the community rose up to challenge you, to say that what you've done is wrong. It is not acceptable. But increasingly, and so that you won't say that I'm putting all the blame on the military, but I will avoid them here now. Increasingly, what we then started having over time was we now had leaders who became emperors or KBACs. KBACs is not our traditional rulers. KBACs that nobody can question you. KBOC. In the past, you could question leaders. So, what we had is you now have leaders who, the moment they became a leader, they felt nobody can question them. Unless as people, we are able to stand up and say, no, you are our servant leader. We've put you there to serve us. So please, once in a while when we are questioning you, it does not mean that we don't like you or we are not in your party. What we are doing is to ensure that you are serving us better. So all I'm saying is Our values need to move away again from speaking with or speaking to unquestionable leaders to start understanding. And that's why, again, I want to go back to the taxation laws, that maybe, just maybe, when we now start contributing to the collective development, we'll be able to hold our leaders accountable. And we are lucky that generally, at least in some parts of in Nigeria, and I can vouch for us here, that yes, we are having leaders now. Some of the things that we even introduced at Dawn Commission in the last 10 years was we encourage our states that before they do their budgeting, they must go around all the geopolitical zones in their states to understand what the people want before they go and form their budget. And thankfully, it has become now the culture in southwest Nigeria, where governors, and I was at the last outing of Governor Seyi Makinde here in Oyo State. I said to the people there that, look, you guys are lucky that you have a governor who consecutively now for the past 6-7 years has been coming to you before doing his budget. That is a governor who feels that the views of the people I'm governing matters. But unfortunately, generally, the psyche of the people has been trained to not questioning leaders. So even if a leader takes your money, you are saying, yes, so let him take it. At least he will give me a little bit out of it. No. We must go away. And I'm sorry, I have to keep mentioning that military thing, because it has been in our psyche. But I never thought of it until this morning when I was sitting down here now, that even the 26 years of democracy we're talking about, 16 out of 26 years, we've been led by military-trained Democrats. Hopefully, we've moved away finally from military-trained Democrats. We'll now be having civilians who increasingly will then be able to change our psyche. And I'm glad that our democracy is working. I will say this. In some countries that we idolize, or in some countries that we romanticize, I see a lot of Nigerians talk about countries like Rwanda, how efficient it is, how it works. And I say that is very good. The question is, are you prepared for the Rwandan type of democracy in your own country? If you like that, that's fine. But our own democracy is working. We can go to the pages of newspaper and say anything about our governor. We can go on the road, block the road, and fry akara. The governor will be complaining. We'll just do what we have to do. That is democracy that has worked. But we now need to take it to another level, where we are holding our leaders accountable. And the more we hold them accountable, the more we can then start having dividends of democracy, which is development.
Dr. Ile, we have some of our colleagues from other media organizations in the house with us in the studio today, and they've forwarded some questions, and they are particularly concerned about Southwest regional security. They want to know how worried you are about current developments in Southwest Nigeria regarding security.
Yeah. Just yesterday, I had a call from one of our leaders, one of our top leaders who shall remain nameless. And he said he was traveling on the Lagos-Ibadan Express Road 2 days ago. And he observed the influx of our brothers from the north on trailer loads into Lagos. He felt that this is a challenge that needs to be addressed. You see, again, we operate a federal structure. We are one big country. And part of the challenges of security that we are facing is because of centralized system that we've played over the years. Thankfully, in 2019, the Southwest governors came together and said, you know what, we can no longer rely solely on Nigerian police or Nigerian army to safeguard our space. I mean, it was a time when we were struggling to move from point A to point B. I remember people would want to come to Ibadan and they would be asking me, Shey, Joe, how do we get escorts? And I would say, that's not our way of life. So by 2019, the governors of Southwest approached Dawn Commission and said, you know what, go and form, work out how we can even work together on security-wise. It was the work that we did at Dawn Commission that we submitted to the governors that gave birth to what we now call Amotekun, Western Nigerian Security Network. And where am I going with that? Once in a while, people will ask, oh, Sheye, what is Amotekun doing? And I'll tell them that they are doing a lot. If there was no Amotekun, I can say it confidently that if there was no Amotekun today, most likely we'll be talking of a different Southwest Nigeria. So, number one, kudos must be given to the governors who are funding it, because they are not getting the money from extra money from the federal post to fund security. So when someone tells you, oh, the governors are not doing enough on security, and I say, so you think? If a governor like the Oyo State governor can fund over 3,500 Amotekun, pay them monthly salary, then he is interested in agriculture. Just recently, in security, he went over to China to buy drones, not just toy drones, that will cover our forest areas. So all I'm saying is that security has been a challenge over time because, one should not run away from this. And I'm glad one of their leaders said it recently. The problems of the North over time, over the last 30 years, unfortunately, we used to say that Nigeria is sitting on a keg of gunpowder. Nigeria is sitting on a time bomb. We now have today problems of banditry, terrorism. When people say, oh, where did that come from? And I would say, you all used to allude that Nigeria is sitting on a time bomb. If a bomb is timed, it means that at some point, it will explode. It has exploded. So the challenges, the problems of the northern part, over time has now been exported down here. We don't have to run away from it. That is why you go on our major roads, on towns, on cities, and you find all of them on the streets. But you can't stop them. There's free movement. Our own is to ensure that we put structures in place. Organize your own space. Once you organize your space properly, miscreants will not be able to stay. So as an example, when Lagos State got fed up with the activities of Okada riders, what did they do? They banned it by banning Okada. What then happened? A large chunk of those who had no business in Lagos, they had to move. Security is everybody's concern. Our agriculture will not grow if our farmers cannot go to the market. It's as simple as that. We can have all the best policies in the world on agriculture if our farmers are afraid to go to the market. But one must give kudos again, and I'm saying this on air. One must give kudos to the Southwest governors who keep investing in security just to make this place habitable. This is still the safest region in Nigeria, and the only way we are having what we call the dirty Decembers, or the one we did in the Oyo State last December, is because it is safe for our children or visitors to fly in. With due respect, if an investor or a tourist is coming into Nigeria today, the first place he will be looking at is not going to fly to Zamfara Airport. No, he wants to come here because generally it's still safe. A lot more will be done. Recently now, the governors met. They've again agreed that they're going to set up what they call the Western Nigeria Security Trust Fund. From that fund, they'll be able to, again, equip their own security force, their Amotekun, properly. In December, we had for the first time, Lagos, Ogun and Oyo did the joint security operation. And they went around just to show the people that we can work together security-wise. That's why I said again that it is very important for states to stand up for what they believe in and stand up to it properly. When Amotekun was going to start, everyone remembered. There was so much opposition from the center. Oh, it shouldn't happen. Oh, they are creating their own army. And we said, no. What we are trying to do is to make federalism work. Now, the United Kingdom has a population of 68 million. They have about 42 different police forces. Why should we be a 200 million plus people and have one police force? So what we've been doing is just to ensure that we strengthen our security. we will continue to organize our space. Once you organize your space, those who have no role to play in an organized environment will find their way out naturally. We can't stop people. That's why I told the elder statesman, I said, Baba, you can't stop them from coming in. Yours is to make sure that your environment becomes less conducive for those who have nothing to do to stay.
You know, Dr. Ile, I have a confession to make. I was actually one of those that doubted the success of Amotekun. And why was this? I felt they were going to become political tools in the hands of the state governors. What was in my mind at that time was, the story of the Bakassi boys way back in southeast Nigeria, way back then in southeast Nigeria. And so how have you been able to manage as Dawn Commission to ensure that Amotekun remains free of political meddlesomeness from the governors?
From our own end, the first thing, the major thing we have done is that we communicate with each other on a regular basis. We have a WhatsApp group of all the commanders and Dawn Commission where we do our peer review on a regular basis. So if we think that something has happened in your state that we are not clear about, we quickly go on the group. If it's wrong, we correct it. They talk to each other. Even among the commanders themselves, they talk to each other just to ensure that what they're doing is in line with the laid down procedures that we put together at Dawn Commission in 2019. But more importantly, what the governors also did was to ensure that Amotekun is led by seasoned professionals in all the states. That's what they did.
Not politicians.
Not politicians. Seasoned professionals who know their onions, who have their names and integrity to protect. So because we did that, I mean, we've been operating now since 2020. February this year will be like 6 years. By the grace of God, you can't point to any major thing that has been a blemish. Of course, you might have some little things here and there, teething problems, but at least it has put a line. And I can tell you this, the impetus now for state police is driven by the success of Amotekun. Because even those who opposed it in those days, in 2019, I remember getting calls from the then IG trying to question me. And I said, I'm only a servant. I don't know anything. I only work here. So I told them that, look, if you want to know, good to talk to my principal. But on a more serious note, the success of Amotekun is now the driving force behind now. Look, let's have our own state police. And, assuming we had state police, I tell people that the kidnapping that happened in a state like Niger might not have happened. You see, we at times we blame the police. Oh, how did they go to kidnap in that place? And the policemen are not there. There are some states, even including Oyo, that if an incident happens in an area, sir, before the police can get there, they might have to travel 3-4 hours to get there. And those who are carrying out these nefarious activities are not going for major targets. They will go for soft targets. So if an attack happens in a remote village in Kaduna, and we are saying, oh, well, how come the police is not there? Number one, Nigeria has about 500,000 policemen. How do you distribute them to all these places? But the moment you have your own state police, so I said, assuming that each state has 10,000 police strong, that's 10 times 36 states. That's already an extra 360,000 policemen. So a Niger state can then decide to station more policemen in areas that they believe are flashpoints, as opposed to waiting for the stretched police force. Today we have the army dealing with internal security. Army is never set up to deal with internal security. It's external aggression. It's only because we have failed over time to understand that we are run a federal government and it shouldn't be one size fits all. Today, our people in Southwest are more comfortable with their Amotekun. They would rather give information to an Amotekun officer than a policeman. And why is that? It's cultural. Cultural. And why do I say cultural? If you send a DPO from Zamfara State to come and be a DPO in Agugu. He doesn't understand the nuances. He doesn't understand the ear that sells Iru at Agugu is looking at him. Wow. You understand my point? And he's not going to tell him anything. But if he now sees an Amotekun officer passing by, most likely she even knows the father or the mother of that Amotekun officer. Look, come. I saw XYZ happening. What do you think? What can you do? That is security. And that is what we should aim for. And I'm glad that even all the states now, as at the last count, they've agreed that we must have state police. State police will go a long way. Please, sir, there's no silver bullet. But at times, there are bullets that will solve so many problems. It might not solve all. So the moment we are able to now start having our own state police, I believe it will go a long way in ensuring that we live in a secure environment. There are countries that have conquered terrorism in the past. Algeria is an example. So there's nothing stopping us from doing it if we decide to apply the right tools.
Now, since the Amotekun now is successful and of course we're agitating for the state for policing, so what is happening now? Where are we on having the state police?
I think it's at the National Assembly. I'm not 100% sure. It's at the State National Assembly where the bill is going through, and we only need to encourage our parliamentarians to see it as a matter of priority, because I think that, I'm not even sure, that it will still have to go around the states even after it passes through the National Assembly. But we don't have the time to waste again, in the real sense. They need to move around. They need to, they've done all the, what they call sensitization, they've gone around geopolitical zones, and everybody has said, let us have state police. The ardent people who were opposed state police, they've come round. They've understood that, look, there's no way we can keep relying on an IG sitting in, I've forgotten the name of police house in Abuja, and wanting to do policing. It's not going to work. So I believe we'll get there. And more importantly as well, we need to engage our young ones better. So it's not just kinetic, that's security alone. Non-kinetic part of it is even the most important. We need to engage our youth more. Job creation, better orientation. Once we do all these things, we'll have a more secured environment.
It seems to be taking forever. Aside from Amotekun now, it seems to be taking forever for the governors to key into the other templates of the Dawn Commission, such as transport and agriculture, for instance. Why is this?
You see, I'll give you an example on other templates. Part of the things we called other templates was because in the past it was centralized. It was solely the purview of the federal government. But today now, things like rail has been decentralized. And I can tell you that a lot of work has gone on the ground on how Western Nigeria or Southwest Nigeria will have its own rail network. Recently, the federal government created regional development commissions. So we have our own now in Southwest Development Commission. And in collaboration with our own office at Dawn, they've asked for the template, we're giving it to them. Thankfully, they have also made rail connectivity as an example. And I'm going to emphasize on rail, because rail, for us at Dawn Commission, is the fastest way to bring development to any area. Why do I say this? Free movement or ease of movement for goods and people. I can decide to live in Elisha and come to BCOS this morning to do this program. And once I finish, I go back to Elisha because there's a train I can take. There are countries that have been doing this for nearly 200 years. So it's not that we want to do something or we are reinventing the wheel. So that is, and we have a roadmap. We've worked with experts. We don't, at Dawn Commission, we don't fund, we don't do projects. SWDC from the federal government now, they will be more project focused. So we'll work with them to make this happen. So yes, the question is, why is it taking so long? I want to say again that it's because of the encumbrances over time that has even, take the case of power. For years, we've been advocating that we can have our own regional plants. But for so long, electricity was domiciled solely with the federal government. It's only recently they decided to devolve it to the states. And you could see that all the states now pass their own electricity laws. They can now negotiate. And these things now will trickle down into the states eventually. So you find that at some point, or your state will be self-sufficient in power. At some point, Ogun State will be self-sufficient. In fact, I have said it, and even it has put our governors under pressure. Because in the past, if you don't have lights, we'll blame federal. But as time goes on, in the not too distant future, nobody will be blaming the federal. If you don't have lights, it will be Mr. Governor. What are you doing? Why don't I have lights? So the things that we've put in place, and don't forget, our own work are done. I tell people it's not a fashionable job. It's not something that you see in newspapers every day. I just told you earlier on about us bringing the innovation of governors going around to ask their people what they want before they do budgeting. That was a creation from our office. But of course, we don't go to the press to say, oh, we did that. No, because NISA, that does economic research for the government, how many times do they go to the press? Several things have been taken on board, but the ones that have been encumbered because of our federal structure and that has now been removed or changed, you will start seeing it. If you read the papers recently, we are talking to NRC, Nigerian Railway Corporation, so that Southwest is going into partnership with NRC to make sure that even before we start building new railway lines, there are so many old lines that have been abandoned that can easily be resuscitated as a first stage in moving goods around. Once we can do that, we will start seeing the benefits of all the roadmaps that we've put together as a group.
How about education, your interventions in education, and bringing us back to the good old days when the Southwest was the bastion of educational development in Nigeria?
Yeah. You see, in education, thankfully, we regularly meet with our commissioners. In fact, today, one of my staff is with some of the education commissioners in a different state. We regularly do that. You see, education is, again, we try to operate a one-size-fits-all in our education thing. One exam, one this. But we have advocated at Dawn Commission that we can set our own standards as a region or as 6 states. There is no law that says that we cannot have our own examination body. And these are proposals that has been put forward to our states that for us to raise our standards, our curriculum can be tweaked. We can have our own independent, I don't want to use the word independent, we can have our own curriculum that is applicable to our own developmental needs, if you get my point. Because you see, the curriculum, yes, we can have a general curriculum, but your curriculum too must understand your own peculiarities. There are some, their curriculum must take into consideration their religious people. This part of the world, where we are, we don't put that as a major thing, if you get my point. So we have advocated, and I'm sure we will get there. You see, it's just like Amotekun that started in 2019. Dawn Commission had advocated a joint security thing 6 years earlier, as early as 2013, until they came on board in 2019. So we are patient people. For those who are asking, we need to see the reforms happen now, it's a gradual process. The template is there. That's why I gave you the example of having our own exam body, having our own curriculum. Once we start having those things infused into education system, changes will come. And I can see that even some of our states, in order to change the trajectory of the exam results, they brought in their own innovation. And we are seeing results. So all I'm going to say is it's a bit more patient. In the education sector in particular, changes are happening, maybe not fast enough, but at some point, we will start seeing that political will to drive more reforms in the education sector.
Okay, so what about agriculture? Because we are known for agriculture. So what about agriculture and food security?
Yeah, you know, I mentioned something earlier on. I said we need to, for us to even talk about agriculture, the first thing we need to do is to ensure that our farms are secure and the farmers can go to the markets. That's why, again, I want to thank the governors who have funded Amoteco. In a state like Ekiti, as an example, they set up what they call the agro rangers, whereby they have a specific unit.
Dr. Ile, sorry to butt in. To our esteemed audience, I want to say it's your turn. You can see the studio lines right there on your screen. And for emphasis, the numbers to call to be part of the program Guest of the Month, 090-7160-8375. You can also reach us on 070-8682-5197. Those are the numbers to call. We welcome your questions and contributions on Guest of the Month.
So going back to the agriculture thing, as I said, once you secure your farms, then you can boost production. One can safely say, confidently say that agric production in Southwest in the last 4 years has improved. You know, it is, we have this belief that all the food we eat comes from the north. That's not true. We know that a lot of the food we eat also comes from here. And more of our people are going back to agriculture. In the Ekiti state now, there's even a waiting list of young men and women under 30 who are trying to take advantage of their Greek schemes in the Ekiti state, as an example. Cocoa, that's now that everybody's saying that cocoa is bringing a lot of money. A lot of this cocoa still comes from Western Nigeria here. Our governments, the incentives are there. Of course, over the years, because we have the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and a lot of intervention programs had gone solely to the north. It's because maybe, well, we slept on our rights, for want of a better word. But increasingly with the templates that is coming out of organizations like Dawn Commission to our state, and they are taking it on board. The biggest food center that Lagos State is building, where are they going to get the food from? A lot of the food is going to come from Southwest, also some from the north. Rice, as an example. A lot of rice is coming from Southwest Nigeria. So it's not that agriculture is bad, it's all doom and gloom stories here. Things have changed over time.
Dr. Ile, talking about the north and the food chain, we shivered the last time they threatened a food blockade.
Yeah.
And do you think, perchance, there is indeed a food blockade from food coming from northern Nigeria? Do you really think we can cope?
If you look at the last year or so now, we didn't have tomato and pepper shortage. I'm sure you know we didn't have. Now, for those who go to the market, they realize that a lot of the pepper and tomato they saw there were the ones planted in Southwest. They were not the ones that came from the north. It shows that things are changing. More of our people are going back. We take food security very seriously. We are one nation, we agree. But that should not stop us from producing our own food. A lot of the states are even trying to do a lot more in livestock production so that we don't even have to rely on externals to eat our own meat as well. So changes are happening, and we shouldn't just, I know that maybe we don't see a lot, we don't read a lot about it in the papers, but changes are happening, our farmers are being engaged, and we're also structuring them in the way that whatever is available at the federal level that they need to access, we are ensuring that we're putting them into proper organizations so that they can access it. So that in the past, when they said Anchor Borrower Scheme, 98% of the fund went to the north. Maybe because we were not properly structured. We are structuring ourselves properly to make sure we access. But our states are increasingly making land available, inputs available, making sure that there's security. Once those things are in place, I'm sure you continue to see a rise in food production.
All right, Guest of the Month is live on BCOS TV on Oluyole FM at our radio station, 98.5 FM, on Okeogun FM, that's our sister station in the Okeogun area of the state, and on Agility FM, Gambari, Ogbomoso, as well as on our social media platforms. This program is being live streamed and it's on all our social media platforms. Number to call once again to be a part of the program, our highly esteemed audience, 070 160 8375 and 07086821197. Those are the numbers to call. The numbers are right there on your screen. Dr. Ile, you said democracy is working. You said Nigeria's democracy is working. And this is why I now want to ask, many Nigerians seem to be expressing a disappointment with democracy. And some are even clamoring for the return of the men of the jackboots. They even argue that much of the visible infrastructure and even social development landmarks that we have in Nigeria today, the landmarks were achieved under the military. And more worrisome is the fact that the enthusiasm with which citizens in some of our Sahel neighbors have welcomed the return of the military. How worried are you about these disturbing narratives?
I shouldn't say I'm worried, but I shouldn't say I'm not worried. I'm not worried in the sense that as long as we have people in Nigeria who lived through the military era and who can keep enlightening and educating the younger ones on the disadvantages of having jackboot administration, I think we are still safe. And where am I going? There are some of us who lived through military era.
Food was cheaper under their watch.
You see, you look at it this way. We had oil boom in 1974, 75. And I remember the then military head of state, who is still alive, thank God, who said our problem is not making money. Our problem is how to spend the money. I want to tell you that had it been that we had people in administration who had the mindset of the civilians of the 50s and 60s, who had the idea of putting developmental plans of 50 years, it would have been a different Nigeria today. It's a different thing to construct flyover, and it's a different thing to put structures in place that will make sure that in 50 years, flyover is still working. You see, I know that it's people are becoming disillusioned at times with current challenges. But you see, one thing you must not do is because you don't like your face, you shouldn't cut off your nose. You don't do that. The challenges we are facing, it's our own making. Even if we say we have bad leaders, which assuming without conceding, that you're saying you have bad leaders, we did not import these leaders from China. They came from within us. Yes,
Dr. Ile, we seem to have someone on the line. Hello, good afternoon. Hello, good afternoon. You are on to Guest of the Month. Oh, we seem to have a challenge with the network. Hello, good afternoon. Please do well to call us back.
So as I was saying, so those who are romanticizing, we want military, we want this, they probably need to go to even to those Sahel countries you mentioned. Forget what you read on social media. You understand my point? Forget propaganda. Go and find out if their lives are actually better under military. I have posited that, look, you need people who have the mindset of development, people who are trained to govern, not those who are trained to just provide security. If you get my point. So the military man's basic training is to provide, to make sure your territorial integrity is not breached. As an example, today we have brilliant military men, but that does not bring them into governance. All I'm saying is that, look, for those who live through the military regime, particularly in Nigeria, it was during that period that, look, everything we do now, we go on social media, we do everything, abuse our leaders, and there are no consequences.
But Dr. Ile, despite their repressive nature, I can mention two things that we are building on or we are not building on today, but that there are solid landmarks achieved under the military. Primary health care, for instance, under the late Professor Olikwe Ransom Kuti, 6334. All these came about under the military, and whether we are built on it or not is a question that varies. So I don't know. These are.
You see, it still goes back to the fact that let us produce leaders that understand development. Let us keep producing leaders who are not going to, and I'm going to say something now that's probably against sounds controversial, but it's not controversial. We need to have people who are thinking of 25 years time, who are thinking of 30 years time, not people who are thinking
Hello,
of
good morning.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, is this Oyo State Radio Corporation?
BCOS Television, on to BCOS Television, guest of the month.
Yes. Am I on to the live program?
Yes, you are.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the presenter, I'm listening to my question now.
Hello.
My comment. My name is Adela Jamuna.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, the Director General Adult Commission has spoken a lot, and for me, I read about them. It's not something that is a talent organization and that does like talent revolution. So I didn't know much about them when he was speaking at Mola, and I saw that a lot of things that they have done and they have been doing. So is there anything they are doing concerning migration control, like identity, the identity stuff? Like, as a country now, we are trying to control immigrants, because the research has shown that the security happening in the country is that a lot of people coming from other countries. So the Southwest, for example, and is not Commission doing anything to control the kind of people that come into the region? Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, it's a question that I've answered in passing. It's a question I've answered in passing earlier. I said, if you organize your space, those who don't have a business in that space will go away. That answer is loaded, because there are things that we have prepared. There are proposals that we have submitted, which some of them will be implemented. Of course, as I said, there are not things we'll be saying live on TV at the moment. But all I will just say again, I now want to repeat that clearly. So you can now interpret it whichever way you want. That if you organize your space properly, those who don't have any business in that organized environment will stay away. I want to leave it at that, but he is thinking along our lines, but I will not say more than that. I will not say more than that.
A professor and prominent politician from northern Nigeria did say that the bane of the southwest Nigeria is that the leaders of the region do not care enough about their people, and it's all about self-interest where southwest leaders are concerned. I'll give an example. A Fulani herder is killed in a skirmish with his host community in southwest Nigeria. And the next thing you would see most times, the northern governors would come, almost all of them would come over to that particular state in protest against the killing of just one northerner or many northerners, as the case may be. And we don't see this kind of zeal to stand up for their own southwest leaders. Do you think the professor was right?
Culturally, we are different. Southwest Nigeria, we've been exposed to modern practices and education for the better part of 250 years or more. By the 19th century, we were producing doctors and lawyers in this area. So you cannot expect us to operate the same way as those who, latter years, maybe 100 years after, caught up with the way we do our own things are different. The way we engage is different. So if the northern man said our leaders don't care about old people, I think is wrong, because it's because our leaders do care about their own people. That is why today the most conducive part of Nigeria for anyone to come and live is still Southwest. So that puts a lie to what he has said. But as I said, more importantly, we've been exposed to Western education for over 250 years, and it will be a shame on what we have learned in that 250 years if we want to adopt crude practices in fighting for our own interests. When our own man was denied presidency in 1993, the late Nko Abiola, we did not start asking for a separate region. We didn't ask for a separate. We fought it. And by the time we won, Nigeria realized that the turn of the Southwest, for the Southwest man to be the president, we fought it. Some of our people were killed, but we did it the right way. Without pointing fingers, I'm sure if this had happened to us, to certain other parts, it might have ended up in a different thing for the country. So all I'm saying is that the way we engage, the way we fight our battles is different, and it's because of the way we've been exposed over time. A region that produced medical doctors as early as 1840, 1830 cannot be called crude men of the Moduvian times. So that's, let's leave that.
What are the things the young people of today, those who are watching us, what are the things they need to do right now to make sure that they uphold the integrity of the region for the future?
So I was talking about the future of the Southwest.
Yes. So the first thing the younger ones need to do is they need to believe in their country. We have this, some of the younger ones have this erroneous belief that the more they talk down on their country, the more they gain acceptability out there. So you find people who celebrate when there's bad news about their country. You find people who, because maybe they don't like the governor in their state, they wish bad on that state. I tell people that, look, you don't need to like your governor. That's your own prerogative. But like your state. As a young person, the first thing that should be paramount is the interest of your country. Don't tell me that, well, my leaders are not showing interest in the country. No. First of all, show interest in that country. Once you show interest in that country, it will then show your nationalism and patriotism, that you believe that my country first before any other thing. Once that is applicable, other things will fall in place. You see, and the good thing, is it a good thing? You know, we all look at Japa, we talk down, very soon I will run away. Unfortunately now, the countries we are Japa into, they are closing their doors. They are saying, you know what, you can only come thus far, you can't come again. Which means that we all have this country as our own country. I used to say, like even up to 2 years ago, that if we are 200 million people, if 1 million runs away, we still have 199 million. Yeah. But now, no 1 million cannot even go. Now that a certain Mr. Trump, as an example, is locking his doors and saying my country is full. So, as a young person, you must find solutions. Stay here, work with like minds, with fellow young people. Organize yourself. Be involved in politics. You know, some will say, I don't have the money. Please, that's running away from the issue, from the question. Be involved in your local politics. Be involved in your streets. Start from there. If you do that, then you will ensure that you become part of the leadership. So, you know, in Nigeria today, you find a 40-year-old man say, our leaders are the one causing the problem. And you're asking that 40-year-old man, but you are 40 years old, you're also a leader. Why are you abdicating that responsibility to someone else? The young ones in Nigeria need to refocus and understand that they don't have any other country but here, called Nigeria. And the more they do that, they will have a better country. But if we keep thinking that our help is going to come from abroad, you can see. So the other day, some were openly asking for a foreign president to come and take over their own country. And I'm thinking, you can't be that dumb. You can't be that silly. Asking for foreign intervention to help in your own country. No, nobody will do that.
What are your thoughts on that, on Mr. Trump saying?
Yeah, well, it's my own personal thought is that it's. I think it's childish for anyone to be clamoring for a foreign country to come in and solve their own security challenges. I was opposed. I didn't like the idea that America was sending Tomahawk missiles into Nigeria. Some have argued that they are helping, they are collaborating. But I see it in a different way, that there are other ways that they can collaborate. Of course, we didn't have to go too far. We can see even from the actions of Mr. Trump now across the world that his own interests are totally different from those in Nigeria. All I'm just saying is that, look, our country belongs to us. The future of our country, we are the only ones that can guarantee that future. It is not a foreign power. It's as simple as that. Yes, they can help us. They have the technology. They have the know-how in help that. So let them use that to help us, not a young person or anyone in particular clamoring that they should bring in their troops. Oh, again, I will say this. You might not like the man who is presently sitting in Aso Rock as president, but please, like your country. They are two different things. You don't have to like the president. It's your prerogative. But please love your country. But what we have generally is people who are saying, because you don't like your face, you now take your nose and cut it off. It's not going to, it doesn't work.
Is there a particular ulterior motive which you think the American president could have?
Well, I'm not a mind reader. I don't want to be reading Trump's mind. But what I want to say is that I'm not sure that any country will deploy resources into another country if they're not going to gain anything out of it. Not a transactional president like the one we have at the moment.
He says he wants to defend the Christians. That's what he said.
Look,
he wants to protect Christians.
Let me say this. He wants to defend Christians. In the Middle East, Israel was throwing bombs into Palestine. I'm sure you know that the number of Christians in Palestine, they far outnumber the little Christians in Israel.
Even in Lebanon?
In Lebanon, thank you. So when bombs were being rained on Palestine, I didn't see a certain Mr. Trump saying they want to protect Christians in Palestine. And when he was sending bombs into Venezuela to go and pick up the president, and people were killed. I'm sure you saw people were killed. I'm not sure they differentiated between Christians. So anyway, that's just neither here nor there. It's an asinine argument which I try not to get into. But the bottom line is, we should focus on our own country. We don't need external invaders. No country has ever survived having an external aggressor. And if I want to use America as an example, look at all the countries that they've been into, and when they left, tell me how they fared. Libya of Gaddafi and the Libya of today as an example. Tell me which one is better. You understand? So it's that's neither here nor there. We should solve our own problems. We should get our own younger ones. And anytime I have engagement with young people, I tell them that the country belongs to you. It doesn't belong to me. It doesn't belong to that. The country belongs to those who are still in their 20s, 30s, 40s. You own this country.
The future.
And ensure by participating in the process, you ensure that you elect leaders who will take that country to where it should be. A 25-year-old man today who is not interested or is talking down on the country, in 15 years' time, in 2041, that 25-year-old will be 40. What contributions have you made? Are we then going to sit and keep blaming the leaders? If you get my point. So that 25-year-old man should be able to hold accountable that 50 or 70-year-old leader. Oga, don't destroy this country for me because you are going soon. I'm still going to be here by the grace of God.
All right, we will wind down with this, Dr. Ile, and in talking about leadership and whether we should solely blame leadership or not for our country's woes, you seem to have left out something, the monster called corruption. That means that seems to be the major monster tearing away at the fabric of our nation, especially on the part of leadership.
Do you want me to tell you the truth?
Please do.
Again, we like to shift all the blame on the leaders.
It's from top to bottom.
No, we like to do that. But I saw a video last year of, and I won't mention the state, but it's in Southwest states. Rice sellers, selling rice in bags. So they showed this picture. They will open up the bag of rice, take like 2 or 3 Congos, or whatever you call it, from each bag, and rebag it. And wow. You understand? So, a 50 kg bag, in the real sense, is no longer 50 kg. So, imagine they took 2 or 3 from 1,000 bags. Imagine the extra number of bags that they've corruptly enriched themselves, because that's corruption. If you get my point, that is corruption. Well, now let me give another analogy. There are some drivers who have gone to enjoyed this CNG thing. They put gas in their car. That's what they use, which means that their fuel cost has gone down by more than 60%. But they refused to bring down their prices. So when I said that the leaders that we are saying are corrupt, we did not import them from China. They came from our circle. Oh. And we sent them. So they grew up from our circle and went to the top. All I'm saying is that we should stop sitting down. Because when you point out one finger, oh, that leader is corrupt, the other 4 fingers is also pointing at you. So that landlord whose house rents in 2025 December was 1 million, and you then got to January without doing any additional work in your house, and you now said it's 2 million. You are not just being corrupt, you're also being wicked as well. So all I'm saying is that we really need to, it's our own orientation. And I said that, and that's why I'm saying again, I'll bring it down to this taxation thing. And there's one other thing I was going to mention as well, even before I go to taxation. We also have to, and when we're talking of leaders, we also have to work with leaders who are ready to take difficult decisions. Leaders who are ready to look into the future and say, this is where we should be. If you look at, and I will use that as a closing example, you look at what is happening in Oyo State, in Ibadan, on the Ibadan Circular Road. I'm sure we all know. People go, oh, this, that. And the argument is, if you look at the mindset of the governor and his team, I'm sure what he's thinking of is, look, where will Ibadan be in 20 years' time if we do not control the development on a 110-kilometer corridor? 110 kilometers corridor. If we do not take control from now, where will we be in 20 years' time? Don't forget that the population of Ibadan in the last 15 years has doubled, meaning that in 10 years' time, this population again will double. Where will they live? So, my plea, again, with people here is that they need to engage the state more to understand that, look, this is not a matter of, oh, what are we, why is he doing this to us? Let us reason together. Let us come together and say, look, we have an economic corridor or a development corridor, 110 kilometers. How do we ensure that this fits into where Ibadan should be in 2040? If he fails to do that now, we will curse him in 10 years' time. Why didn't he do it there? Why didn't he plan? So all I'm just saying is that the psyche of the people themselves, we need to trust our leaders the more. We shouldn't just point corruption fingers at all of them. Oh, everything is corruption. No, not everything is corruption. Some might be developmental, but because of the way we have been wired, because of the way we've been pauperized over time, we tend not to trust our government. And because there's trust deficit, we don't trust them, we then think, oh, everything is corruption.
All right, we'll take that as your parting shots for the people at the leadership of Southwest Nigeria and their country, Nigeria. Been an interesting time with you, Dr. Oyeleye, and I've personally have had a good time talking to you. Well, it's been guest of the month on BCOS television, and we've been talking to the Director General of Dawn Commission, Dr. Sheye Oyeleye, and he is a man of many parts. He's an historian, he's a lawyer, he's also an international relations expert, and he's also a management expert with experience spanning 25 years in the public and private sector in Europe and Nigeria. Thank you for coming, Dr.
My
Oyeleye.
pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. So next time, viewer, have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.
My name is Tola Teriba.